Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome you. I'd love to welcome you all to the Wealthcast yet again. So the last time I promised you guys that we are going to have a fantastic guest on show, and today I think I have delivered on that promise. So today, this evening, to our guest of honor on the show is Chandresh Nigam from Axis Mutual Fund. He is the managing director and CEO of Axis Mutual Fund. He spent almost 3 decades in the industry. He has spent almost a large part of his career facing investments and fund management. It is only recently that he is leading Axis Mutual Fund at the helm as managing director and CEO. So, welcome to the Wealthcast, Chandresh. It is a huge pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, lovely to be here, Nirav. Really happy that you're giving us the opportunity to talk to all your clients. So wonderful to be here and look forward to a really engaging session.
Right. So, in fact, without any further ado, let me just jump straight into the question that is lingering onto everyone's mind. Where do you think is the market headed? Where do you think is the economy headed? First and first, let's just talk about the economy. Media headlines are a buzz with opinions, all right. In fact, I myself am guilty of contributing to a few opinions of myself. So, while we're talking about opinions, why not hear it from someone who is actually seeing the market much closer than what any other retail investor or I would be looking at market from, right? So, what is your opinion on how is the economy shaping up, and how do you see it trickling down and reflecting in the market?
Okay, I think you use the word economy and markets together, and I think the first thing I want to say is that the two are different. Yes, obviously they reflect. The markets do ultimately reflect what's happening in the economy, but very short term, very short to short terms, I think they can go different ways. And after the whole COVID crisis, we obviously always thought that the markets will lead the economy. But anyway, your question is on the economy, so let's talk about that. I think two things have really happened to the economy from a medium term perspective. We all know the lockdown. I will not go into it. उसके बारे में ज़्यादा बात नहीं करेंगे. Let us look at what looks like, and we've also seen some significant recovery in many of the sectors. Enough analysis has been done on what sectors have been beneficiaries, and if there is an interest, we can touch upon it again. But we know that in the economy there are essentially three or four kinds of sectors, or rather we should say there is 3-4 speed economy. हम लोग पहले दो 2 speed बोलते थे, one high growth and other which is more just about puttering around. But right now I think there are at least three, if not four. So the economy overall broad, when we see, okay, it is back to 85-90% level, but there are some sectors which are doing better than what they were doing pre-COVID. In fact, some of them are beneficiaries of the pandemic. It's a very unfortunate thing to say, and pandemic was an unfortunate and is an unfortunate event. But some cases, consumption in home, IT sector, pharmaceutical sector, there have actually been significant improvement in demand, and that part of the economy, maybe about 10% of the economy, is actually better than what it was prior to, and that's how it looks like that they will continue to do. They are back on their growth trajectory as if the pandemic is not there, and we can expect them to chart their own growth path as was the case before the pandemic, except for IT, I think, which probably will get a boost because everywhere in the world, people will want, every business will want to go more digital, online, etc. Then there is one segment of the economy which obviously is not a beneficiary. They saw a significant drop, but then they have seen some significant improvement. The first 3-4 months may have been very, very challenging, but then after that, things have really improved, and they are back to, some of them are starting to see YOY growth, partly because of the pent-up demand, but otherwise also they've kind of come back. And I think if there is no further disruption from any count, they are also getting back to their growth. Obviously, they are still lower than the pre-pandemic time, but I think the growth trajectory is likely to be good. So that's, I think, totally about 40% of the business. The rest 60%, there is some challenge, and large parts of capital goods, not much activity. Yes, it will come back, but not yet. And there are some very small part of the economy which is likely to see long-term problems, and that is more where the physical impact is a lot more. And we all know restaurants business and hotels and multiplexes. I think there will be some long-term. Putting it all together, the economy is back to 80-85%. Some, as I said, some cases above 100, but on an average about 85%. And if there is no further disruption, and while we are seeing that in Europe right now, again in Europe there is lockdown, and US also cases are rising, which will have an impact. I am saying in India because our winters are not that harsh, etc. My expectation is it won't be that bad. But assuming that it is not that bad, I think we are back to taking a 2-3 year view, and most of these businesses will kind of grow over the next 2-3 years. Now, part of it is already reflected in markets. The markets have already recognized which are the sectors which are beneficiaries, which are the sectors which are going to bounce back, and in that sense, the expectation is that actually, if you look at where markets are today, back to previous highs, etc., markets are saying pandemic tha, aaya. Yes, there is still an impact certainly in the economy, but businesses have kind of many of the businesses are back to some kind of normalcy, and from here on things will go on, and that is what the markets are telling us. So let us see. Now the question is whether we accept what the market is saying is right. Economy, we know how it is moving. Economy does not. Markets do not see that the economy will see another big slowdown. And if that is the case, then I think we should be, the markets are well supported. And then from here on, it will be businesses as they grow over the next 2-3 years, and markets will kind of perform. So I think sum and substance. Big fall, sharp rise, reasonable normalcy. Worries should get reduced. People should not worry too much. And I think just focus on individual good quality businesses or whatever you are holding, and I think you will be fine in your wealth creation journey, which is why we all buy equities in the first place.
Right.
So, long answer to your question, but I hope that helps.
Obviously, it more than just helps. In fact, you actually caught me right at the beginning. There was a reason why I was using the word market and economy together. It was supposed to be my follow-up question that, just like I was using it together, people in the world are wondering if they are actually as synonymous as general investors expect it to be.
Oh no,
Because people are the investor forums are completely raving about the dichotomy and the divergence between economies and markets, and no one is able to make head or tail of what should they believe. Should they actually feel that the market is actually penning in and penning in some great earning expectation, or is it an overreaction? So is the recovery as a basis of normalized demand, or is it just pent up demand? So, what is your comment on this front? Why don't I know you have given us a small teaser, but I want you to elaborate slightly on the relationship between the market and the economy and the dichotomy between the two.
yeah. So actually, I built up a model. I call it the tripod model. So the overall market is dependent on three things. Uh, the first is the macro. I mean, people should have a reasonably good sense of where the economy is heading. So that was your first previous question. And if you are reasonably confident of the economy, I think it gets money into the market. And if you are not, then money leaves the market. So that is one tailwind or headwind or a neutral stance. That is one. The second is, and which I think is the most important from a long-term wealth creation, which is the micro. I call it the micro, is basically what companies are doing. So we've had a situation over the last now more than 6-7 years, maybe now 8 years, where the economy is not really doing that well. It's not gone back to 8-10% growth. We are in that 4-5-6 kind of percent growth. But the markets have been doing well because there are some good quality companies, which is what the index is made of. They have been growing profits for a long period of time at a rate anywhere between 12, 13% to some maybe as high as 25, even 30% for compounded over the last 8 years. Yeah? And we'll come to that. What is that cost? So if the micro is doing well, individual companies profitability is rising, प्रॉफिट बढ़ रहा है 5 साल पहले प्रॉफिट 100 था आज 200 है या 300 है the stock price will certainly react. So that is number two. So we talked about the macro economy, the micro, which is the company performance, and the third one, which is very very critical. Now कोई भी चीज अगर आपको if the market has to go up, what do we need money to come into the market, and if the market has to fall, then there should be more sellers than buyers and money will move out. Now, this is what I call the liquidity, the third leg of the tripod. So, what is the tense? Is the movement of liquidity in the market. The market में पैसा आ रहा है कि जा रहा है, and that tap of liquidity is governed by what I call as sentiment. Sentiment is very worried. People are fearful. Like in March, money is obviously going out. After that, whatever has happened, everybody has put in money. Fed has put in so much money. Indian central banks have put in money. Interest rates are lower. The markets anyway have a momentum, so more people want to come in and jump in and all that. So overall, what is the generally this is a short-term thing. Long-term fundamental, whether it is micro are more important. But short run, which could be 3 months to as long as 18 months, it's all dependent on the liquidity. We all keep saying अरे foreigners आया है FII आया है FII पैसा डाल रहा है तो मार्केट ऊपर जाना ही है, which is fine because market is small. Our market, Indian market, where liquidity is fairly poor. So you have 100, $200 million of buying, and the market will be up 1-2%. And if that buying continues for 5 months, then irrespective of how the macroeconomy is or irrespective of how the companies are doing, the stock markets will go. So now these are the three things, and interplay of the three things links to market. So my only thing is it's very difficult to say which one will be more important. I think at different time horizons, different things work. So I think one of the things which many people would have heard is don't fight the Fed. What does it mean? बेसिकली अगर फेड का दिमाग में आ गया है या सेंट्रल बैंक्स के दिमाग में आ गया है कि हमको रेट्स कम करना है, एंड so people will have to buy more risky assets, and which is what has been happening last 6-8 months. If we are trying to relate it with what's happening in the economy, it's not going to work. So but
Right.
point is we will not know exactly. तो इस पे बहुत ज़्यादा दिमाग लगाने का फायदा नहीं है. Needless to say, I think long-term investors should focus on the second one, which is companies अच्छा कर रही हैं, 3 साल बाद कंपनी का प्रॉफिट यहाँ से डबल होगा या 4 साल में डबल होगा, हमारा पैसा बन जाएगा. I think that is the what is something which is in your control, which you can monitor closely. Even the macro economy is not very easily forecastable. Yes, there is. हम लोग के इतने सारे analysts हैं, economists हैं, their full-time job, they earn their living by forecasting, but we all know about the multiple hands. On one hand, this will happen. On the other hand, that will happen. So I think, again, a long answer, but it is important to understand the market has lot many levers. And for long-term investors, it is not important to understand all the levers when they act. Otherwise, what we will sometimes feel is, अरे हमने एक लीवर समझ लिया, इकोनॉमी अच्छा नहीं कर रही है, and we will come to a conclusion, market अच्छा नहीं है, चलो बाहर चले जाते हैं. I can tell you in 2009 when the crash happened, and then the market started to rise in 2009. I know of people who have been saying that markets are being driven by liquidity, fundamentals अच्छा नहीं है, ये sustain होने वाला नहीं है, and they have not been able to get back into the market. But in 10 years, some of the good companies, they have grown their profits tenfold. So you've lost an opportunity. So I think there is a lot of noise in the market, papers, channels, everything. If I were to talk to a retail investor, if I was to tell my father, let us say, कि भाई आपको इक्विटी में पैसा क्यों डालना चाहिए, इसलिए डालना चाहिए कि 5 साल में जो हम कंपनीज बाइंग खरीदेंगे, सब नहीं खरीदेंगे, बहुत सिलेक्टिव खरीदेंगे, वो अपने प्रॉफिट्स 5 साल में तो पक्का डबल कर लेंगे, नहीं तो 4 साल में काफी कर लेंगे, और कुछ कंपनीज 3 साल में भी कर लेंगे. तो इसलिए हमको इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. एंड फ्रॉम दैट पर्सपेक्टिव अगर आप ये फिलॉसफी करके चलोगे, तो आई थिंक यू विल मेक मनी. The reason why you are coming to equity market. Now I know some people come into equity market for entertainment. That is fine. That's a small part of the market. Uh, we are seeing the volumes which are happening on the exchanges. Good. I think people should use that, but that probably you should do with 5-10% of your money. Major money, I would think, is for wealth creation in equities, and then let us be serious and focus on what will get us to our objective, which is hold for a medium term, and you will make money. We have some very good quality companies in India, and great opportunity.
Right, fantastically explained. In fact, while I was listening to you, it reminded me of a joke that was doing rounds within us, among analyst forums. Okay, so I'm a part of several groups, several analysts, and one of them put in the key role of economic forecasting is to make astrology look respectable.
Yeah, I know. I heard that. Yes.
So it just reminded me, you said obviously that is not exactly what it is, but somewhat, people sometimes try to go out of their way and try to make spurious correlations, and everyone loves to show that they have a crystal ball, but none of us have it, right? Or else none of us would ever be working the jobs that we are working, right? If had we known
Absolutely.
everything, we'd be God if nothing. So while talking about this entire divergence, which by the way is fantastically explained, I completely love the tripod analogy. I know after the session I'm going to make personal notes on that and expand the logic and see how can we fit it into a larger framework. But you also spoke about a very interesting concept that is sentiments, right? And while talking about sentiments, it just struck to me that see, obviously you have been managing investments for a long time. I know you are a seasoned veteran expert, but along with an expert fund manager, I also know that you're a business leader and you know the way the industry is functioning right now. See, I have been noticing a couple of trends in investor behavior. Okay, I'm seeing risk averse mutual fund investors move to direct investing in equities. Okay, I am seeing this trend where the number of demat accounts is just skyrocketing. I have, every second person I meet on the street has a stock tip, and in my experience, this is a very scary situation to be in. So I am noticing a lot many, divergences in aggregate investor behavior. यार म्यूचुअल फंड बहुत रिस्की है, मैंने कल ही डीमैट अकाउंट खुलवाया, डायरेक्ट स्टॉक ट्रेडिंग करूंगा. So which is just counterintuitive, right? I mean, you're having experts, you're having diversification, yet you think you make money by direct equity. So what is your specific comment on such behavior, and what are the other behaviors जो आपने notice किया होगा कि इंडस्ट्री में कैसे ट्रेंड्स चल रहे हैं, एसआईपी के कैसे रिडेम्पशन के ट्रेंड्स चल रहे हैं, और आपको क्या लग रहा है, where is the investor mindset flowing towards, especially retail investor, and where are they going wrong?
Yeah. So this is my favorite topic. Yeah, as humans, we are what we call now psychological creatures. We are getting affected by psychology. It is not just retail investors, even fund managers, analysts, economists, they all get swayed by sentiment. I mean, that's our basic nature. That's what who we are. Now, when, as you said, investor is saying कि यार ये mutual fund बहुत risky है, at that time he is in the fearful state. At that time he is not in a mood to lose any money. Yeah, सारा का सारा पैसा लेके बैंक के एफडी में डाल दो. Yeah, something like that.
Hmm.
Then when he is opening a demat account, we all want to look smarter than our peers, no, our neighbors and all that. You heard your cousin made money in some stock, or you heard your neighbor make some money in some stock, and then we obviously love to brag about it because we will not talk about our losses, but we will talk about how great we are. So that is also an innate desire. So we get sucked into it. So then at that time the dominant psychology is of one of greed. और ये फेयर ग्रीड होप साइकिल मेरे ख्याल से बहुत लोगों ने पढ़ी होगी. अगर नहीं पढ़ी है तो नेट पे ढूंढ लीजिए, सब मिल जाएगा. हर बार साइकिल आफ्टर साइकिल इट्स गेट रिपीटेड. वी ऑल नो इट बट वी विल स्टिल हैपन. वी ऑल नो इट, इट विल स्टिल हैपन. ना यही सब इन्वेस्टर अगर मार्च के पहले मार्केट में आते थे तो थिंग्स वुड हैव बीन डिफरेंट. वो दूध का जला छाछ भी हाथ फूक फूक के पीता है वाला बात है ना. सपोज द सेम इन्वेस्टर हैड कम इन जनवरी एंड हैड सीन द फॉल इन मार्च. वुड ही हैव सेड चलो यार और पैसा डालते हैं? बिल्कुल नहीं. नाउ द
बिल्कुल नहीं.
मार्केट, गुड थिंग इज दैट लोगों का पुरानी मेमोरी नहीं है, एंड एनीवे मेमोरीज आर शॉर्ट इन सम सेंस. आपने मार्च अप्रैल में पैसा डालना शुरू किया, सम पीपल मेड मनी, देन मार्च मई में और लोग आए, एंड नाउ ऑब्वियसली इट इज सेम बिकॉज the kind of move you have seen. Suddenly you see a 50% rise in the market and 100, 200, 300% rise in some stocks. That gives rise to greed. इतने जल्दी इतना पैसा बन सकता है, तो मैं भी खुद पढ़ता हूँ. ये साइकिल है, ये चलने वाली है, हमेशा चलने वाली है. आई थिंक इन्वेस्टर्स शुड, आई कैन नॉट ऑल्सो से कि भाई आप ऐसे पे मत करो, बिकॉज ये होने वाला है, मैं जितना भी बोलूँ. तो
और
ये
ऐसा नहीं है
रिकॉग्नाइज
कि
करिए कि
उनको
ये
पता है,
आपका
उनको पता
रिस्पॉन्स
होते हुए
होने वाला
करते
है.
हैं।
Yeah, so this will be a response of investors when the market's shooting. That's why I said that अगर suddenly short term में बहुत पैसा बन रहा है तो sentiment is positive. Irrespective of whatever is happening to economy, companies जो भी आके बोले आपको बाजार में you will find reasons to buy. No, that is what is greed essentially. So I don't want to say that people who have opened demat accounts वगैरह वो लोग loss बनाएंगे. नहीं, if you buy good companies from here on and you hold for 2-3 years, no problem. It doesn't matter whether you own the same stock through a mutual fund or directly, no problem. If you know, provided you understand, know the company, are able to do a proper analysis, all the reason, please go ahead. But all I am saying is that देखिए, in the equity market is a risky place, and we will talk a little bit more about that. हाई क्वालिटी वर्सेस लो क्वालिटी, अगर एक पास एक बकेट रखे, हाई क्वालिटी है जो कि वेल्थ इन्वेस्टर्स को बना के देती है, और पुअर क्वालिटी वो है जिसमें वेल्थ नहीं बनता लॉन्ग टर्म. एंड हाई क्वालिटी बहुत लिमिटेड है, उसमें अगर आपके पास जरिया है, इफ यू नो हाउ टू इन्वेस्ट इन दैट, you can do it on your own. Otherwise, give it to a trusted, well-known somebody who is an expert, a fund or whatever it is. So I can very easily understand the change in risk. Sometimes you are completely risk averse. Sometimes you are just going out. It is all about being fearful or being greedy. That's all it is.
Right. In fact, one of my analysts told me the other day, सर एक इन्वेस्टर है, इसका रिस्क एपेटाइट इज मोर वोलेटाइल देन द मार्केट्स. 2 दिन पहले बोला रिस्क कवर से, आज बोल रहा है एग्रेसिव है. समझ में नहीं आ रहा क्या
Absolutely.
पोर्टफोलियो दिया जाए.
So this is volatility. Absolutely. Risk volatility. बिल्कुल सही बात. And we are
Right.
not machine, no. हम लोग we are humans. We are not expected to behave. No, एक input डाला तो हमेशा वही output होगा. Same set of information, you will have different responses to it. So, and we just have
Absolutely.
to accept it and understand it, and then it will allow us to evaluate our behavior and our thought process better. Otherwise, we will just get carried away by whatever is our current thing. So आपने सुना होगा ना, पल में तोला पल में माशा. I mean, that is
हाँ.
what is happening because the markets will force you, because volatility is the nature of the market.
Right.
Why does the equity market give you return? It gives returns only to people who can manage that. No, हमारे market में there is a कहावत है ना, bulls make money, bears make money and pigs get slaughtered.
Things get centered.
वो लोग बार बार चेंज करेंगे, अरे अभी बाजार अच्छा लगता है घुस जाते हैं, अभी बाजार खराब लगता है गिर जाते हैं. टाइमिंग की वजह से पूरी वेल्थ डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाती है. एक
Right.
अच्छा स्ट्रेटेजी, अच्छा फंड मैनेजर अच्छी स्ट्रेटेजी को पकड़ लेना है और उसके ऊपर चलते रहना है, बाजार में बहुत पैसा बनता है.
Absolutely. In fact, you spoke about people getting phased by every new piece of news, and how people react to certain emotions and every new piece of information. Which brings me to the next point. आजकल मार्केट में एक नया टॉपिक मिला है इन्वेस्टर्स को हल्ला के लिए. That is US elections. Okay. So I am sure over there, none of them have as much idea about US elections as much as the retail investors that I meet have. Okay, it might not be all retail investors, but almost every retail investor has an opinion on how US election will impact India. And it is the very binary thing. Okay, either they say if the next person comes, it will be good for India, or if the next person comes, it will be bad for India. It is very binary. Okay, but I really was seeking some clarity from you. What is the extent and the depth of the impact that the US elections will have on India? Obviously, it won't be direct, but given the trade relationships that we are having and the commercial relationships that we are having with the US, how do you think will the election materialize for US, and what cues will India take from it, both from an economic standpoint and and a market standpoint?
You want my honest answer? Just don't worry
Very
about
honest.
it. I will give you my answer, but I think as investors, I mean, this is a good for an intellectual discussion. and we'll talk about it. But if you're a serious investor, my sense, and unless you are a trader, then yes, obviously, yes, it becomes
Mm,
important to understand. Because I have seen in my career, so many government changes. Every time people said, "अरे यार नई government आएगी कुछ होगा." We've seen the nuclear blast. We've seen 13, 14, कितने elections हो गए. कारगिल वॉर ये वो सब की बॉस कुछ हो जाएगा कुछ नहीं होता है बॉस एट द एंड ऑफ द डे द थिंग व्हिच वर्क्स इज आर योर कंपनीज ग्रोइंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ प्रॉफिट्स फ्री कैश और नॉट इफ दे डोंट ग्रो ultimately market क्या है market is a collection of all these companies together if they don't grow market will not grow and I can tell you even in the best of economies I mean let's take the case of China बहुत interesting example 92 से लेके 2017 25 years and then even after the last 2 3 years also China has grown its GDP in double digits मतलब 10% plus and if you add inflation तो nominal GDP जिसको हम बोलते हैं ना कंपनी का sales एक तरह से बोला जाए तो if the whole China was a company then उसका sale would have grown up by 13 14%. So yeah, what is the expectation? Our expectation would have been that companies would also have grown their profit somewhere in line of 14%, 13 14%. And the markets in 25 years, yeah, P expansion contraction, but 25 years में कितना फर्क पड़ेगा? So market should be also be 13, 14, 15% return देना चाहिए. What is the real return in China? Less than 5%. इतना dichotomy कभी देखने को नहीं मिला. क्यों? For a very simple reason. कि जो मार्केट को लॉन्ग टर्म में जिसकी वैल्यू है विच इज मार्केट वांट्स टू सी कैश द
mm,
बिजनेस ऑफ बिजनेस इज टू जनरेट कैश अगर कैश नहीं जनरेट होगा तो स्टॉक नहीं चलेगा या बीच थोड़ा टाइम के लिए प्रॉफिट नंबर आपने ज्यादा दिखा दिया ठीक है मार्केट खुश हो जाएगा पर लॉन्ग टर्म अगर कैश फ्लो जनरेशन बढ़ा नहीं तो फिर स्टॉक्स विल गेट डीरेटेड और आपको लगेगा अरे यार पी में तो बड़ा सस्ता मिल रहा है बट ये क्यों नहीं चलता मार्केट्स आर फेयरली स्मार्ट है हम लोगों से सबसे ज्यादा स्मार्ट मार्केट होता है So coming to the US election, if we, I don't think you can make long-term investment decisions on basis of what the US is going to do or what will happen in the US. Yes, short-term trader, अभी वो भी कहना बड़ा मुश्किल है. People are already earlier were saying if the Democrats win, which means Biden wins, then it will be bad for the economy. Now I am hearing the same analyst saying कि जो भी आएगा वो तो पहले एक बड़ा स्टिमुलस करेगा तो मार्केट अच्छा करेगा अभी क्या होगा मुझे नहीं पता है ओके ऑल आई नो इज मार्केट्स डू नॉट लाइक अनसर्टेन अनसर्टेनिटी नहीं हुई कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा 10 15% बाजार नीचे जाएगा ऊपर जाएगा कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है आपकी लाइफ में वी कैन फील गुड बैड कि हमने एक कॉल ले लिया वो अच्छा गया कि नहीं गया लॉन्ग टर्म आपको जो अपना एसेट्स है दैट यू हैव टू पुट इन लाइन वेयर द लॉन्ग टर्म वेल्थ क्रिएशन इज गोइंग टू coming to just one point on this, my sense is because it is such a massively watched event, मेरे ख्याल से इसका कुछ इम्पैक्ट नहीं होने वाला unless there is massive uncertainty. ये मैंने देखा है जब भी कोई बहुत हम लोग बोलते हैं ना बहुत बड़ा इवेंट है ये होने वाला है वो होने वाला है उसका कुछ इम्पैक्ट नहीं होता है मार्केट का बड़ा मूवमेंट कम्स ओनली फ्रॉम अनएक्सपेक्टेड इवेंट्स जैसे कि कोरोना में आया पैंडेमिक में
mm,
and everybody's investment strategy has to take into account that there will be this is essentially what risk is things not going as per plan then what do you do and how do you know get your investment style and strategy in place or you design it in a manner where it is able to take care of these shocks will come आप कहो कि शॉक नहीं आएगा एज एन एनालिस्ट आई विल बी एबल टू फोरकास्ट एवरीथिंग नहीं होने वाला दैट्स अ रियलिटी so apart from the fact that we are behavioral and driven by sentiment this is the other thing to understand this market is risky uh, and it will continue to be so it will keep on giving those shocks हमको demonetization का shock आया and things will keep happening so you have to build you have to protect your wealth protect invest in a manner where you will not be able to take care of all the risks but you have to be well protected so don't worry too much about the US election.
absolutely. So I feel there was a very solid statement made कि markets don't like uncertainties, right? And I feel that is a very critical statement that as audience, as viewers, you need to. This is a key takeaway because see, everything expected will always be priced in a manner or so. right? What is not priced in is the thing that is unseen. It is a shock. It is an uncertainty that Chandresh very rightly pointed out. So very logically, if there is such a widely observed event and usually watched event, there is actually a good statistically there is a good chance that the volatility won't be as much as we are expecting, because everything that needed to be factored will be factored in a way or the other. See, the collective wisdom of the market will always outwit each one of us, right? Every single participant here. So that is a very key point that audience should take away from what Chandresh said. Chandresh, this brings me to my next point. Towards the end, we spoke a lot about risk, a lot about risk management, which reminds me that I've been following the way Access operates, and I've seen some outstanding focus on these two parameters. Okay, we also spoke about quality. So risk management and quality are the two things that I've seen, Axis Mutual Fund being very vocal about, and being very open, transparent about the way they're doing it, and just telling the world that, hey, this is what I'm going to give importance to, and this is what I'm going to stick to. Like you said, कोई एक अच्छी स्टाइल पकड़नी चाहिए, अच्छी स्ट्रैटेजी पकड़नी चाहिए, and you got to double down on it. I feel that's completely what I can see, Axis doing with most of its funds. And you are obviously leading one of the largest fund houses, largest funds, and some really outstanding funds in terms of performance, of consistent performance. So it will be really great if you could share some insights into how does Axis view risk management, and what are your thoughts on the quality framework? So just these two facets.
Okay, yeah, great. I think that is so this is one style I think works all the time. It has worked for the last 100 years. So I don't think there are other ways of making money, but I think this seems to me to be the most simplest way. So now let's start with the very basic on quality, and then I'll dovetail that into risk. So what is quality? Now, I said the market is a risky place. Now, there are various sources of risk. One source of risk is quality risk, or right, I would rather say lack of quality. Now, what is this quality? Now, I gave you the example of China, where market should have been up whatever, 15% over 25 years means it kind of doubles at least every 5 years. And 25 years में it will do it 5 times. So 2 का 4, 4 का 8, 8 का 16, 16 का 32 times it should have been. And where it reached, it possibly just tripled or something, or quadrupled. So it's a 10x difference between. सोचने में खराब डिफरेंट लगता है कि 4% और 5% वर्सेस 15% इतना नहीं लगता है, बट over a 25-year period, either that 100 would have become 3,500, or it could have been 350. It's a massive difference. Okay, that is wealth creation. Anyway, so my point there was that if you do not have good quality growth, then you will not make money. But forget about growth. Actually, there are businesses which don't even survive. So what about growth? Equity market is a place of risk. Now, Bombay Stock Exchange, it is about, I think, about 145-year-old now, 150 years old. In its history, there have been about 9,000 companies which have got listed. Now, वो 9,000 में आज कितने ट्रेड होते हैं? Maybe about 2,000.
2000.
तो ये 7,000 कंपनी कहाँ गए? ये 7,000 कंपनी फिनिश हो गए, खत्म हो. Even in these 2,000 companies, how many companies are wealth creating? Maybe 10, maybe 12%. 200 से 250 company are wealth creating. Wealth creating का मतलब basically very simple. In their whole life, have they earned their cost of capital? Investor के लिए मार्केट में जो एक्सपेक्टेड रिटर्न है, अगर सपोज पहले तो 15% होता था, अभी 12% रिटर्न बना के दिया क्या, विच इज लिंक टू देयर रिटर्न ऑन इक्विटी. तो हम कह रहे हैं 9,000 कंपनी में से 250-300 कंपनी वेल्थ क्रिएटिंग. तो हम लोग जो सोचते हैं कि अरे इक्विटी मार्केट में पैसा डाल दो, उसमें से रिटर्न बन जाएगा, तो क्या ये सही है? एक्चुअली मैं बोलता हूँ बिल्कुल गलत है. इक्विटी मार्केट इज ए रिस्की प्लेस. यहाँ पे आपका पैसा डूबने का ज्यादा चांस है. पर फिर हम क्यों कहते हैं कि इक्विटी मार्केट में रिटर्न बनता है? एक्चुअली इक्विटी मार्केट में रिटर्न नहीं बनता है. ये जो 200-250 कंपनी है, दीज आर द रीजन वी आर इन द मार्केट. क्योंकि ये कंपनियां लगातार ऊपर चलती जाती है, उनका परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा रहता है, उनकी क्वालिटी अच्छी है, उनका प्राइसिंग पावर अच्छा है, कैश फ्लो अच्छा ग्रोथ अच्छी है. हमारी इकोनॉमी ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी है, उसका वो बेनिफिट लेते हैं. और जब ये कंपनी अच्छा करते हैं तो उनका स्टॉक ऊपर जाता है, उनका स्टॉक ऊपर जाता है तो वो इंडेक्स में आ जाते हैं ये कंपनियां, फिर वो इंडेक्स भी चलता रहता है। और हमको इंडेक्स दिखता है तो हमको लगता है कि अरे द इक्विटी मार्केट इज डूइंग वेरी वेल। एक्चुअली द contribution of just about 25 stocks in the BSE 100 has driven all the returns of BSE 100. Yeah, and BSE 100 is, by the way, a very, very no index of very large companies. So the amount of wealth dispersion you can have, or the returns dispersion you can have from quality, which is basically these companies. अच्छा company हर साल अच्छे maybe growing at 1.5 times or 2 times GDP, but growing profits at the same level. But you do it consistently. 10 साल, 15 साल, 20 साल चलते जाओ. That's what creates the wealth, and that's the reason we are in the market. Now, I said that rest of the companies are risky, so abhi we need to have a system, no? How? So this is about quality. Quality and world में भी ऐसे ही है. दुनिया में करीब 25,000 स्टॉक ट्रेड होते हैं. Only 1,000 companies have created all the 40, 50 trillion dollars of wealth. Huh? Rest of the companies are big zero. Yeah. So हमारा एम क्या है? हमारा एम है कि ये जो टॉप क्वालिटी कंपनीज है बस इसमें इन्वेस्ट करना. दैट इज व्हाट एक्चुअली एक्सिस स्टोरी इज ऑल अबाउट ऑन इक्विटीज. कि हमको वो बाकी 1750 कंपनीज का कोई दरकार ही नहीं है. वो जो होता है उन्हें तो वी विल जस्ट फोकस ऑन दीज 250 कंपनीज. सो दैट इज नंबर वन रूल ऑफ स्ट्रैटेजी एज वेल एज रिस्क मैनेजमेंट. बिकॉज हम इससे सिर्फ पैसा बनाने की नहीं सोच रहे, हम इसमें पैसा कम खोने की या ना खोने की भी बात करें. So that is on quality. That is why we are focused on quality. Now risk. Now ये सब करने के बाद भी we know we will go wrong. It is not as if कि ये 250 कंपनी का लिस्ट एकदम ये हमेशा रहने वाला है. Even this changes. जो 250 कंपनी हमने 2010 में जब बिजनेस शुरू किया था और आज की 250 कंपनी में बहुत फर्क है. इनफैक्ट उस वक्त 350 कंपनी लिस्ट में थी. धीरे धीरे कुछ कुछ कंपनीज का बिजनेस मॉडल वीक होता चला गया एंड वी हैड टू थ्रो देम आउट ऑफ आवर यूनिवर्स. And this will continue. So this is also not something cast in stone. This will also change. So now, if I were to talk about risk, एक तो हमने समझ लिया क्वालिटी रिस्क हो गया, तो आपको उसको मैनेज करना है. तो उसके लिए हम डिसिप्लिन लाते हैं कि भाई आप ये 1750 मत ढूंढो, फंड मैनेजर को बोल देते हैं आप ये 250 में ही काम करो. सो दैट इज द फर्स्ट लेवल ऑफ रिस्क कंट्रोल. सेकेंड, यू हैव टू से भाई कि अच्छा कंपनी तो है बट कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं कि आप उसका 2 गुना 3 गुना भाव दे रहे हो. सो प्राइसिंग रिस्क जिसको हम बोलते हैं. So then there are some other things like liquidity management. अभी आजकल मैंने आपसे पहले भी कहा इंडियन मार्केट में लिक्विडिटी बहुत कम है. अगर आपने कुछ गलती करी तो जो आप करेंगे, हाँ, ये एक मान के चलना चाहिए कि हम लोग गलती करने वाले हैं. बेस्ट फंड मैनेजर्स गलती करते हैं. तो गलती को आप करेक्ट कैसे करेंगे? अगर आपके पोर्टफोलियो में लिक्विडिटी नहीं है तो आप देखते रहेंगे आपने कुछ गलत खरीद लिया, आपने थोड़ा सा बेचा, भाव 20% डाउन, 20% डाउन, वर्चुअली जीरो पे आ जाएगा अगर आप उसमें से ठीक टाइम पे निकल नहीं पाए. तो लिक्विडिटी होना बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. तो क्वालिटी रिस्क, प्राइसिंग रिस्क, लिक्विडिटी रिस्क. और ये मार्केट एक बहुत बढ़िया जगह है. आई डोंट नो हाउ मेनी ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर्स विल अंडरस्टैंड, बट हम लोग जो कॉलेज में पढ़ते हैं हाई रिस्क इक्वल टू हाई रिटर्न. मतलब आप में से कई लोग जानते होंगे बीटा बोलते हैं या वॉलेटिलिटी बोलते हैं. एक्चुअली इक्विटी मार्केट में वो कुछ काम नहीं करता. हाई रिस्क थोड़े टाइम तक काम करता है, उसके बाद आप हाई रिस्क जाओ तो रिटर्न बढ़ने की बजाय एकदम जोर से गिर जाता है. और ये सब मार्केट्स में है. इस पे पीएचडी थीसिस वगैरह हो चुकी है. तो जिसको हम बोलते हैं ओवरऑल रिस्क ऑफ द पोर्टफोलियो, वॉल रिस्क बोल सकते हैं, बीटा रिस्क बोल सकते हैं, उसको भी कंट्रोल करना. बट ये सब रिस्क कंट्रोल करने के लिए पहली चीज जो आई थिंक हर फंड इन्वेस्टर को और फंड मैनेजर में होना जरूरी है कि आपके पास एक फ्रेमवर्क होना जरूरी है कि भाई यू आर नॉट नो कॉट हाई एंड ड्राई. कि जब आप वो, और ये सब रिस्क हमने काफी 30 साल से, जैसे आपने बोला मैं बहुत टाइम से हूँ, काफी बुढ़ा हो गया हूँ इस इंडस्ट्री में, बट ये सब आते ही वाले हैं. तो आप पहले से ही अपना पोर्टफोलियो कैसे इस तरह से बनाइए कि इस रिस्क का आपके ऊपर इम्पैक्ट कम हो. होएगा जरूर बट कम हो. तो ये दोनों चीज, फोकस ऑन क्वालिटी एंड एन अप्रोच टू रिस्क. एंड पहली लास्ट पॉइंट ऑन दिस, आई नो आई हैव टेकन अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम ऑन दिस. पहली चीज इन रिस्क मैनेजमेंट इज टू एक्सेप्ट, नो, ये ह्यूमिलिटी होना जरूरी है कि आपसे गलती हो. अगर आप सोच लें कि हमें सब मालूम है और गलती होगी नहीं, फिर आप इस रास्ते पे बढ़ नहीं सकते. जब आपने सोचा कि हाँ आप गलती कर सकते हो, तब आप अपनी सारी स्ट्रेटेजीज लगाओगे कि कैसे क्वालिटी रिस्क कंट्रोल करना है, कैसे प्राइसिंग रिस्क कंट्रोल करना है, कैसे इंश्योर करना है लिक्विडिटी रहे. And that is what the entire framework is. I'm very happy that Axis has really thought through very, very well. I very proudly say, I know हमारे funds वगैरह सब बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं, but I think one thing which I think we are definitely probably the best in the industry, and not just here in India. We have seen many of our partners and international partners and our joint venture partners come and tell us that we have a very sophisticated risk management framework. It is not rocket science, it is something which is very simple. But yes, that perspective, and I have gone out to say that ultimately 50-60% of fund management is actually risk management. So these are the two, I think, tenets of equity investments at and not just equity, even fixed income में भी same चीज है. हाई क्वालिटी खरीदिए, छोटे टाइम में बड़ा अच्छा लगता है कि रिटर्न ज्यादा आ रहा है, आपने कुछ पुअर क्वालिटी खरीद लिया, बट वो अल्टीमेटली आपको ग्रीफ ही देता है. You have to do what is sustainable, and sustainable is possible only in high quality.
Right. Absolutely. We have made the point very clear. Always stick to quality, and one shall not regret. So Hindi में कहावत है. Obviously, it talks about price, but I want our audience to perceive it from a quality standpoint. कि महंगा रोए एक बार, सस्ता रोए बार बार. So the same thing from a quality perspective. So you choose poor quality, you will keep crying over and over again that you lost some money, made some money, but you buy high quality. It might seem slightly expensive. You may have double mind, but your chances of crying go really low. Right. So I very well explained, Chandresh. I feel you really nailed it and made it very clear to the investors, right? So there is a lot of fuss around quality. What is the PE? What is the PB? But you know what? As long as you're retail investors and you're focused on your financial goals, I feel all of that is secondary, right? Markets are volatile, PE, PB, sub hota rahega. And, you know, that's what fund managers are there for. You know, all of us are in the business of trust and faith, right? You just need to do your homework, pick a great expert. एक सही सारथी अगर चुन लो तो आपका जो रास्ता होगा वो भी आराम से सही से निकल जाएगा, right? You need a good companion in your wealth creation journey, and that's what your choice of mutual funds will define. So, sir, as we move towards the fag end of our session, I'm just going to pick a few live questions. See, I'm getting a lot many questions.
Sure.
I'm so sorry I won't be able to pick all, but I will pick two or three, and the rest can be mailed to us at Fisdom, at research@fisdom.com. So, Chandresh, one question for you, which is really intriguing and really simple yet intriguing. Sir, one question as a retail investor. I have started my investments 2 years back. Still, I'm not making huge money in the market. Can you please guide us? How long is long term? So I feel this is coming from a frustrated investor कि long term अब कितना long term hold किया जाए कि 2 साल हो चुके हैं सही से पैसा बन नहीं रहा है उसका. Obviously, the reason could be anything. But how long is long term, and how should he view his ongoing SIPs?
So actually the मजा तो इस business का long term में ही है. You know, what is that long term? I mean, it depends on an individual investor what he thinks as long term. But अगर equity में invest करना है, तो I think 3 से 5 साल तो minimum सोच के चलना चाहिए. Now, in which case, अगर बीच में आपको ships बदलनी है, suppose you get into a stock or a fund जो आपके अनुकूल नहीं है, which is not in line with your investment objectives, then you have to start that journey again. That is why it is important to do the right thing at the first time itself. But मैंने ऐसा देखा नहीं है कि अगर आप कोई कंपनी लो, जैसा मैंने कहा ना, नॉर्मली वी लुक एट इट एंड आइडियली वी वुड लाइक टू बाय अ बिजनेस जो 20% कंपाउंड रेट ऑफ प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ करता है, which means you double your money in 4 years. And we will not buy something which is not even able to do it in 5 years. No? So 15% kind of growth. And we are getting lucky sometimes that we get it in 3 years, which is about 26%. तो अगर दैट इज व्हाई आई एम सेइंग 3 से 5 साल के बीच में अगर एक कंपनी का प्रॉफिट डबल होता है तो पैसा बनना जरूरी है. इवन इफ सपोज पी उसका कंप्रेस भी हो जाता है, जो भी हो जाता है, यू विल एंड अप मेकिंग रीजनेबली गुड अमाउंट ऑफ मनी irrespective of what happens to market macro जो भी. So I would say if you are in a good company, good fund, 4 years, let us say, and let's stick to the midpoint. 4 years, you should make reasonable money. Now, If your expectation is you will make 10 times your money, then obviously I think there is some reset of expectations which has to happen. When I say make money means wealth creating, cost of capital. अब हमारे पे बहुत simple thumb rule है, twice the amount of risk free rate. आज risk free rate is 6%, so anything about 12% is wealth creating, 12% plus returns. I know some people may not be very happy with that 12%, but that is wealth creating. You keep doing it for a long term period of time, आपकी जिंदगी बदल जाएगी without a doubt. You can do it for 10, 15, 20 years. Very simple example is Warren Buffett. हाँ? अगर आप सब बोलते हैं he's made billions or hundreds of billions of dollars now in his old firm, overall company. But if you look at now, it's about 55 years old. His Berkshire Hathaway. What is the average compounding rate over the last 55 years? It is about 19%. So it is not as if that it is something which is completely out of the park. If 40%, 50% return हर साल बना है. It is just continuously keep doing it. If you can do 18, 19% sustainably, some funds in the industry have done that. And you can do it for 20, 30 years, you will all be Warren Buffett.
I so wish that many of us, if not Warren Buffett, but at least we turn out to achieve our financial goals at least. I feel that would be a huge success
Yeah,
for most
absolutely.
of us. In fact, as we move towards the last question of the session, there is one rather intriguing question. Okay. Even I was reading the question and even I was thinking, how do we frame an answer? The question goes, sir, if equities is for long term and I am a long term investor, do I need to have any debt in my portfolio at all?
So it depends on your age, it depends on your risk profile. Uh, I think while I myself have been an equity fund manager and I've been recommending very high weightages, but it depends on your circumstance. We saw in this whole corona pandemic suddenly 40% drop in the markets and all that. So you must, and at that those points in time, rather than again being worried about sentiment, you must be able to maintain your asset allocation, which means you must have some money somewhere which you can put more. Idea of markets is always buy low and sell high if you have to. So rebalancing is a very important part of a normal retail investor. I'm not talking about a sophisticated investor, but a normal, what we think most investors come into between a conservative and somewhere in the middle. They are not out and out risky or risk taking investors. It's important to also have some amount of fixed income so that you have your sanity. You feel confident कि चलो ये तो मेरा बचा हुआ. It's a way of addressing the sentiment issue that you should not suddenly. Otherwise क्या होता है आपका 100% पैसा इक्विटी में है. We know 100% इक्विटी में रहेगा 10 साल में बहुत अच्छा करेगा. बट बीच में क्या होगा 3 साल में बड़ा सा क्रैश आएगा. You will get completely frustrated and then you will what you will say अरे इसको छोड़ो ये बेकार है and then you will get out at the wrong point. So much amount of wealth has been lost because of this whole psychology issue. The way to do it is आपने माना 50-60% equity रखो, depending on where it is. You can be 40, you could be 70, depending on your risk profile. But every 6 months or 1 year, just rebalance. If it has gone up too much, sell a little, come back to your asset allocation. I think it is a great strategy. अभी जब गिरा, I heard of some investors, not everybody, some investors said, yeah, अभी 40% गिरा, I rebalanced. My 60 had become 40 of my overall portfolio. I will, if not the entire 20 at one go, 10 and 10 करके मैं वापस 60 पे ले आया. Big benefit, big benefit. So I think there is always you should have some fixed income in your portfolio. If you need money for some reason, etc., you don't want to sell equities. You don't know how the equity market will be at that point in time. I think from a general retail investor, 30 to 50% debt you should have.
Makes a whole lot of sense. So guys, I feel asset allocation is very critical. Like Chandresh rightly said, it is obviously strategically important, but it also ensures that your heart rates are not in sync with the equity market volatility. You get excited heart rates when the markets are up, and your heart rate sink when the markets crash. Just to ensure there is a certain level of intermittent sanity maintained, asset allocation will help you maintain your own sanity. And obviously, there are situations wherein the cash flow requirements might change. Not anything in life is cast in stone. Future is uncertain. So this fixed income component will play as a good a good corpus to allow you the flexibility, to afford you the flexibility to rebalance from time to time. All right, and to maintain your investment discipline and investment sanity. So Chandresh, it has been a great session. It has been a real pleasure having this conversation. I really loved the conversation. There were just too many takeaways from this. While I was hosting it, I am definitely going to rewatch this session, and I am going to share it with the analysts and the customers and the investors that I know. It has been a really insightful session. Thanks a lot for being with us on Wealth
Thank
Path.
you, Nirav. Thanks for having me, and I hope this was useful. This is my passion. I love to talk about it. I think there is great amount of money to be made in equity markets. Today we did not talk fixed income, but that's for another day. But yes, equity is a great place, but do realize not everything which is there in markets makes money. You have to be disciplined about it, otherwise it can cut you really badly. Yeah, and
Right.
that's what we've tried to do in Axis. Just focus on simple things. We are not running. We are not in a race with anybody. We think if we can just work in this two twin framework of staying in high quality and manage risk well, we will give a good uh, experience to investors. And that's all. That's the race we are in, which basically race with ourselves to do the process just better. Yeah. Thank you very
Right.
much, everyone. Bye bye. Good
And
night. Take
thank you,
care.
Chandresh.
Bye bye.
Thank you. So guys, it was an outstandingly interesting conversation. Okay, I personally loved the conversation. Chandresh brought to the fore some really interesting points. We spoke about risk management, which is a key tenet when it comes to managing your portfolios and investments well enough. We spoke about the importance of quality, right? See, not slightly inferior quality may give you some sort of a kick for some time. It may give you a slight blip in your investment and performance profile for a shorter period in time, but in the longer run, the quality stays. Okay, and this is not just within your portfolio. This is across every walk of life. Right from everything that you wear to what you use to what you consume to where you invest into, quality is very important. It is an important aspect. We also spoke a lot about several ongoing developments. We spoke about how the Indian economy is shaping up, and the clear takeaway is the worst is behind us. Better days are ahead of us. We have perhaps seen the most difficult period as COVID hit the markets and hit the economy. We have seen industries and shops shut down. We have seen livelihoods stall. We have seen all of this happen. But today, all of it is moving towards normalcy, albeit trudging towards normalcy. But directionally, we are moving towards normalcy, right? And the markets are penciling that in, okay, and the markets are just reflecting that. Also, another important point made when we spoke about the US elections is that just like the US elections is a big event, soon there may be an India elections, and then there will be a couple of monetary policy announcements, and there may be another round of stimulus announcements both in India and in the US. In the shorter term, all of this could have a lot of impact, but in the longer term, as long as you're an investor and not a trader, it's going to make a whole lot of difference. I mean, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference to your portfolio. So it is important that you take a longer term view. You stick to quality, you manage your risk, maintain your asset allocation, maintain your financial discipline. Obviously, there are a lot many questions that have come in. I see a lot many sectoral questions, a lot many market cap related questions. Please feel free to write to us at research@fisdom.com. um, the research team at Fisdom will try to help you and give you clarity on every parameter that you're seeking clarity on. Okay, so just repeating, it is research@fisdom.com. Just shoot us a mail and we'll be more than glad to interact with you. Meanwhile, like I always say, it always helps to share knowledge with everyone. The more you share, the more you learn. So, don't forget to share this video with your friends, colleagues, and your loved ones. This will help them take much more prudent financial decisions for sure. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video and the channel, respectively. And again, as always, I promise the next session is also going to be with an outstandingly interesting personality, someone that each one of you would really love to listen to, and most of you would be wanting to listen to from quite some time. So the next guest will be with us on the Wellcast really soon. Perhaps as soon as next week. Let's hope we are able to freeze the time and get the appointment. But I really look forward to welcoming each one of you onto perhaps next week's Wealthcast, which will have a very special guest with us on the show. So, meanwhile, signing off. Have a great investment journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the video. Thank you, guys.